Welcome back, everybody, to another From Screen to Shelf review slash showcase. It is your boy Chase, aka Mr. Wallet Bully Extraordinaire, here to show you typically what is annually one of my most looked forward to and anticipated releases every single year almost at this point, the Alfred Hitchcock Classics Volume 3. This one I was a little bit cautious of because I hadn't really ever heard of any of the movies on those ones. You know, Alfred Hitchcock, once he started coming out in 4K, I had seen a lot of the ones from Volume 1 and a couple of the ones from Volume 2, but this one was pretty much a blind buy for me. So in this one, we're going to do pretty much the same tempo as what you're used to. I'm going to show you it. It's kind of what you've come to expect from those little sets and everything in between. Give you my thoughts, come back here, break down the transfers, everything like that, with what information I could find. Give you what I feel about each individual movie and everything in between. So without further ado, we're going to go over here, crack that bad boy wide open, come back here, and let the thoughts flow. See you soon. Shoomp. And there it is. Alfred Hitchcock Classics Collection, including Rope, The Man Who Knew Too Much, Torn Curtain, Topaz, and Frenzy. It's exactly the uniformity that we've come to expect from Universal with these Alfred Hitchcock Classics collections. I'm a huge fan of these, as I've been on record saying before. Huge fan. Listing all the specs, the details, everything like that. There's the back of the box. Yeah, love that. Hours of bonus features. And let's take a look at the innards itself. Nice little media book. Boom, as always, already taken. You can give it a shot if you want, but it's not gonna work. So love that. I just love the way that they kind of collaborate or like collage all of this together. It just looks so nice. And there's the controversial inserts. It's like I've said before, I usually put those in little like white envelope sleeves, kind of like what some people did back in the DVD days whenever they just kind of throw their cases away and keep them in a binder. Some people put them in the little white envelope sleeves. I ran out, so I haven't had the chance to do that for this set yet, but all of Alfred Hitchcock Classics 1 and 2 have those white sleeves inside of there. All the bonus features right there. Pretty light compared to what we've come to expect, but Rope was a great time. Had a lot of fun with that one. Another great one featuring the man James Stewart. Love that poster. That just looks incredible. And then some more bonus features right there. And I'll go into more detail about it, but yeah, he remade this movie. It's one of his earliest films, The Man Who Knew Too Much, and he actually remade it in 1956 with James Stewart. Great movie. 1966's Torn Curtain, featuring the man Paul Newman. So then, there you go. There's the bonus features. Torn Curtain Rising, scene scored by Bernard Herrmann, if I'm saying that right. Production photographs and the theatrical trailer. I actually really like checking out those theatrical trailers because it can kind of give you some insights of how things are presented now versus then. Really fun. Topaz, bonus features, storyboards, production photographs, theatrical trailer. Really like that theatrical poster. And this one is probably one of my favorite Alfred Hitchcock theatrical posters. Absolutely love that one. Looks really awesome. Bonus features, the story of Frenzy, production photographs. That's one of those little mini documentaries that it comes with. Ideas come from everything. Words of wisdom, right? Looks awesome. That's just awesome to look at. You can just get sucked in looking at some of these collections and volumes like that. And there we go. Crisp, clean, mint. And now let's go into all the titles, the transfers, the audio, everything in between. Welcome back from taking a look at that gorgeous box set. It's like I said, I look forward to those every single year. I am rather a fan of the way that those are presented. It's like I said in there, typically I put them in the white envelope sleeves, but I didn't have any extras this go around, so I quite didn't get to it. So I gave you my thoughts on the box, so now let's dive into the films themselves, what is included in the package, and everything in between. So we're going to start with my favorite one. I believe it's the first one listed on there, Rope. That one was so much fun. This time around, I popped in the Blu-rays, watched about 20 minutes of that, and then I'd go back and I'd watch the 4K just to at least have a decent understanding of how big of a difference there is between the 4K and the Blu-ray itself. So Rope from beginning to end looked awesome. I can't imagine this movie's ever going to look better unless you have the chance to see it on film itself, right? At an at-home presentation type of approach, this is going to be the best that you're ever going to get. It's a pretty tight runtime. That movie is jam-packed. It's extremely eerie, extremely cryptic, and, you know, like I said, very eerie. I had a blast with that movie. It's up there now as one of my favorite Hitchcocks, and that was my first watch. Really wasn't expecting that, despite a lot of people, when this set was announced, people saying this was the one that they were looking forward to the most. This one in particular does only come with a 2.0 audio track, and this is kind of where I kind of got lost. I tried to do a little bit of research before recording this, or try to dive the best I could through forums, everything like that, and I couldn't necessarily find readily and easily accessible information in regards to how the transfers went. So I don't know if this was scanned from an inner positive. I have to assume it's from the original negative, especially for how crisp and clean that they look. But it's a massive uptick from the Blu-ray. All of these are, right? But yeah, I mean, it's going to be the best that it ever looks. It is presented on a BD66, which we have been kind of, how do you say it, spoiled from the previous two, where all of them were on BD100s. There is some conflicting information about Volume 2. On the box, it does say that they are all BD100s, but whenever you go to like Capsaholic and other sites, it does list all the titles from Volume 2 as BD66s. So take that with what you will, but these are everywhere I found BD66s, and I don't really think that hinders anything really here, except the fact I am not necessarily against it, because there's one thing, like I have been on record before saying I don't like whenever they're put on the 4K discs. When there's enough space, or you're using a BD100 and you aren't necessarily using the entire capacity on that disc, I'm kind of okay with how these are presented, because just like Rear Window, one of my favorite things about that one from Volume 1 was after I got done watching Rear Window, there was literally a special feature on there about how they restored that movie and how it almost didn't happen because of how destroyed the film elements were. So I always get excited whenever the special features start running right after, and plus it can give you a massive amount of insight into how different the quality is and how much of a labor of love these restorations were. So this isn't jam-packed with special features. Each of these do come with like a little 30 to 40 minute, I think some of them are running just shy of 25 minutes, little documentary, like a mini documentary, just kind of presenting behind the scenes footage and stuff like that. So it's cool that they do that, but it kind of sucks whenever it does get down to a BD66 versus the 100s that we're used to. That kind of makes me leave a little bit more to be desired in that aspect. But Rope, masterpiece, absolute masterpiece. If you haven't seen it, or you are just curious about a particular movie, this is the best movie in the set, in my opinion. I had an absolute blast with it. It was right up my alley. Everything about that from beginning to end was wonderful. Anything that the man James Stewart himself is in, I've always had a blast. Never been disappointed by a single role that he has been in. So that's going to get high regards. It's a massive upgrade from the Blu-ray. If you have that 15 film set that came out, I think it's been a while now, but the Blu-ray 15 film set, this is definitely worth your money if you're just trying to get one in particular. So definitely grab Rope at the very least if you aren't interested in grabbing the whole set. So we're going to go ahead and go on to Torn Curtain. And I guess I'll talk about Torn Curtain and Topaz in one, because they're very similar kind of aesthetic movies. They're both kind of set around the Cold War era, and they're not necessarily spy espionage thrillers, but they're definitely political thrillers and stuff like that, where it's a lot of political mind games and war games and stuff like that. And the reason I kind of want to encapsulate them both in one is because I'm not a huge fan of those movies personally. I really am not. Like, that's just not my go-to genre. As much fun as I still did have with these movies, I don't know if I'm going to necessarily give them a second rewatch. I had a much better time with Torn Curtain than I did Topaz. Topaz, to me, just wasn't up my alley. I didn't have the best experience with it. Again, by no means is there anything wrong at all in any way, shape, or form with this movie, but it's just not up my alley. But what is up my alley is a 4K disc, and these look incredible. Again, like I said about the whole set as a whole, watched the Blu-rays about 20 minutes, then went back, ran it back, and then watched the 4K presentation. That way I had a little bit of insight. to see what the difference is. And there's a big difference. Torn Curtain out of this one probably is the least noticeable difference because the Blu-ray already looked pretty solid. Yeah, that one already looked pretty solid. The shadowing, the dark areas, the HDR Dolby Vision does bring out quite a bit in this particular presentation. But again, as a movie, it's not up my alley. It might be up yours if what I've already said and what I've presented about the films itself are again, up your alley. You'll probably have a great time with them, but they just weren't particularly for me, and I don't know if I'll be rewatching them anytime necessarily soon. Like, I would definitely rewatch Rope. I definitely would. I feel like there's a lot to unpack there. There's a lot of hidden themes, hidden messages that you can kind of get into. So I'm pretty sure it falls the same on those ones. Topaz and Torn Curtain, they just weren't necessarily up there with me. Again, another 2.0 master audio track. So cool, you know, and again, BD66. Again, as a whole, I'm gonna say this for each title, couldn't find necessarily a lot about what it originally was transferred from, if it was the original negative or if it was an inner positive. Again, I'm gonna have to imagine it was from a camera negative because it looked pretty damn good. Again, the best the movies are ever gonna look. So if you're a fan of these movies, these are definitely worth picking up. Now, we're gonna go into two of the other ones. I had a great time with these other two. And I'm gonna start with The Man Who Knew Too Much, featuring, again, the man himself, James Stewart. If you can't tell so far, I'm a huge James Stewart fan. If I see his name come up in the opening credits, or if I just grab a movie, I see his name on there, I'm watching it. He's great. He's one of my favorite actors from that era and that time period. He just crushes it. He's really good at encapsulating his emotions and just doing James Stewart things, right? So The Man Who Knew Too Much, it surprised me how much I liked that movie. The third act is very erratic, very chaotic, very, very fun. The way that it's presented, the way that the orchestra plays, and then, you know, you have a lot of the actions, or not necessarily action sequence, but action shots and stuff like that going on. It's a rather simplistic story that Alfred Hitchcock does Alfred Hitchcock things with. So the way that it's shot, the cinematography, everything like that is very, very cool. And this one actually comes with a 3.0 audio track, which I found interesting. All the other ones are 2.0. This one has a 3.0, and I found that very interesting. The Man Who Knew Too Much is probably the biggest upgrade from Blu-ray to 4K out of this set with the included Blu-ray. I'm not referencing anything older. I don't have any of them sitting right here on my shelf. I'm only referencing from the Blu-rays that are included in the package itself. So, a great time. I believe on Letterboxd I gave it a 4.5 out of 5. I had an absolute blast with that movie. The score, the acting, the rather simplistic story taken to like extremities and stuff like that. Absolute blast. I can't recommend that movie enough. Again, James Stewart does his thing and kills the role to the absolute fullest. The transfer, 5 out of 5. It looked awesome. Again, I'm going to say it's about all of them. The best the movie's ever going to look. There's no softness. There's nothing that you might expect. The grain is there. It's nice. It's delicate. It's not overwhelming. It's not too noisy. And yeah, it's highly presentable. Not reference quality, not demo material or anything like that. But again, if you're a fan of these movies, this is going to be the best at-home presentation that you're ever going to be able to see, at least for the foreseeable future, right? So then that leads me to probably the biggest surprise in this package outside of The Man Who Knew Too Much, because I kind of knew Rope was going to be good at the very least, because that's what a lot of people were talking about out of this set. But with Frenzy came out of nowhere for me. I wasn't expecting a whole lot out of that one. That was actually the first one out of the entire package that I popped in. It looked great. The story was awesome. Yeah, it's about a killer that's kind of on the loose doing his thing, and then somebody else ends up kind of taking the fall for him, or is kind of under investigation. And then it's just kind of not really a cat and mouse game as much as like two people are trying to figure different things out and crossing and intertwining paths as the killer's kind of setting them up for failure, right? Very well done. The way that you kind of get into the mind and the psyche of the killer and stuff like that. It was a rather different take on the, I guess, serial killer trope, especially for the time. Around the time that this one came out, kind of the slasher genre was really in full swing. So it was definitely different and unique. And we were getting a lot of unique things around that time. And yeah, had a blast with it. Huge uptick from the Blu-ray as well. Does include a 2.0 master audio track, and it sounds great. It sounds natural, right? It doesn't sound like out of place. Like there's been times I've had Atmos mixes playing with an older movie kind of in the realm with this, and it just sounds unnatural for how crisp it is, you know? And I don't know if that's going to be an unpopular take, but definitely is kind of how I feel whenever it comes to older movies. There's even times I'll pick the original stereo, mono, 2.0, whatever the case may be, over the Atmos track, just because it just sounds more natural for me, you know? It just sounds like that's what I'm meant to listen to it on. So, Frenzy, high regards, great movie. Really had a lot of fun with this particular title, and it's a huge uptick from the Blu-ray, like I keep saying. Again, like I keep saying, couldn't find a whole lot about the transfer process itself, especially on the individual titles. Gonna assume it's from the original camera negative because it is a native 4K scan, so it looks great. Again, best the movie's ever gonna look, as the entire package is, kind of how I keep saying it, right? So overall, I'm gonna go ahead and give this whole package, because if you don't know, this is the last one, because this is all that Universal owns the rights to. So don't be looking forward to a volume 4 unless, you know, they kind of license out some titles and want to continue it, which I think that'd be cool to have a whole set like that and just keep the ball rolling and, you know, source titles out from other distributors and publishers and stuff like that and other studios. That'd be really cool. I think it'd be cool if we could get a volume 4, even if it's not Universal's alone. That would be super nice, because they just look awesome and I like looking through them. The special features, all of these guys, like I said, with believe it was Rope I was talking about it on, they all have like that little 25-40 minute little mini documentary about it, where it's just kind of the making, how they kind of came about, how they did it and stuff like that. So it was really cool. My favorite special feature was the one about the man who knew too much, because if you didn't know, that's actually Alfred Hitchcock remade his own movie. So I found that kind of endearing, kind of cool. So that's how that movie caught my attention, and they go into detail about that in that little mini documentary that's included on there. So yeah, I'm gonna probably give this a strong like 4 out of 5, 8 out of 10. You know, it's exactly what you've come to expect out of the Universal Classics collections, or the Alfred Hitchcock Classics collections from Universal. And it does come with the digital code, so as we've come to expect, this is just everything annually we've come to expect at this point for the last 3 years. So high regards if you're looking at getting an all-in-one package. I ordered mine personally off of Groove with the sign up 20, and I want to say it came out to about 38 and some change. So I find that to be a steal. That's under $10 a title plus a digital code, and it looks nice on the shelf. So give them a check. Shout out Groove. That's where I got my copy from. And until next time, please like, comment, subscribe. As we always like to say, we love talking to you guys. We love the support. So the more you interact with us, the happier it makes us. We get so giddy whenever we see somebody comment. So make sure to go down, comment below, even if it's just to say hi, right? It makes our day. See you soon.